Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Peter Webdock Martin from Cactus Sky, and I have spent decades helping businesses across automotive, RV, and small business, connect with customers. And today I am thrilled to bring you a conversation with Chris that I believe is going to change how you look at marketing, and it's going to be very exciting. So, joining me today, somebody I deeply respect, Chris Snellgrove. He is the founder of Reputation Sensei. Chris isn't just another tech guy. He's a true pioneer. In fact, he literally coined the phrase trust marketing. But more importantly, he has been selected by NADA to speak at the upcoming convention in February. And he's going to have a great session out there. So I think that speaks volumes to Chris's expertise, and he was selected by NADA to share this information. So, Chris, welcome, and let's jump in. Let's begin with what is trust marketing?
So, Peter, I believe every company has a story to tell, and that story is best told from the customers that experience the benefits of the services that that company offers. So today we're really going to dive into and talk about how to amplify the voices of your happy customers to really communicate trust in your marketing. So let's dive in.
Okay. So, Chris, we've been in business for a long time, and we've seen many evolutions in dealer marketing. How have dealers historically conveyed trust to consumers?
So historically, they've used Google reviews, right? And I'll give you an example. In 2016, we had a case, a customer contact us out of Las Vegas. This is a $28 million Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store, and they only had a 2.7 on Google. But back then, dealers only had a handful of Google reviews. So we deployed a reputation marketing strategy where we first went in and worked with their team on delivering a better CX, because that's the first step and the most important. And then put a process in place where we ask every single customer in sales and service for a review. And in 4 months, we moved the guys up almost two full points to a 4.5. But what was even more amazing was the results. For the first time ever, they outsold the number one Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store in the Las Vegas market by adding those, hundreds of Google reviews and, more importantly, pushing that rating up, which communicated trust. So today, here's where the challenge comes in. Today, most dealers have thousands of Google reviews. And that's where, we're seeing a diminishing trust in online reviews.
And why is that a problem, Chris? It sounds positive to me if you've got a lot of reviews.
You would think, right? So in 2018, just to throw a statistic out there, 91% of people trusted online reviews as much as personal recommendations from friends and family. That's dropped down, Peter, now to only 42% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So trust in online reviews is dropping mainly because two factors. First and foremost, most dealers have figured out a way to get thousands of reviews. And secondly, there's actually fake reviews out there. You can buy fake reviews. It's really shocking that Google allows companies to index on Google where you can go and purchase reviews for as cheap as $10 a review. I think it's a horrible practice, and I don't recommend anyone doing it. But there's still companies that are selling reviews. And so for that reason, trust in online reviews is dropping.
So, reviews are becoming less trusted in today's buyer's journey. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yep. And so, we feel like the next level in trust marketing is really capturing real stories from real customers that really demonstrate real excitement about your services. And this strategy will actually work faster than billboards, TV ads, radio spots, and even traditional reviews.
Okay. And you mentioned the term strategy. Is that kind of backed by any PhD research or any supporting the kind of really, make this really drive home?
Yeah, we follow a guy named Roy Vaden. Roy Vaden is a world-class brand marketing specialist. He's a best-selling author. He did his company is Brand Builders, and they conducted a PhD backed research study and asked people what was the number one reason people said yes, would hand over their money to you, and it was testimonials. People want to hear that you're awesome from people that are doing business with you. So testimonials are hugely important. And that's why we call this next level trust marketing. And it's about capturing customer stories with video testimonials and photo testimonials.
You're right, Chris. Just look at any infomercial. And what do they always have in the infomercial? They've got testimonials.
Always. So the question begs, right? Why doesn't every dealer have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's because they can be challenging to get unless you have the proper strategy. We've devised a strategy called the DCMA Trust Marketing Strategy, and it always begins with the first step is to delight. We often say, if you don't do this part right, nothing else matters. So you've got to create an exceptional experience for that customer, a memorable experience that when they come in, they really transition from a customer to a raving fan, an advocate, a person that goes out of their way to talk about your business. And that makes the second step easy, and that's capturing a testimonial, either a video or a photo testimonial or even a written review. So there's 3 asks on every sale. But it's how you ask is really the key. We'll get into that in a moment. The next step is marketing out the testimonials in your localized area to communicate trust. You know, Peter, every dealer goes up to the rooftop and shouts, "We're the best," but what consumers tend to trust is what your current customers are saying. And that brings us to the last step, and that's you will attract more people as you become the most trusted dealer in your market, not by your admission, but by the admission of your happy customers doing the talking for you.
Well, that's great. So let's talk about it. So what is involved in step number 1, delight?
So, do you know what the secret to every great company that crushes it with exceptional customer service?
I'm all ears.
The secret is we believe that exceptional customer experiences begin with excellent company culture, and you can't have one without the other. And I always like to point to Richard Branson, who knows a little bit about successful companies. I think he's got over 40. And his position is clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. And the point here is if you love on your employees and create raving fans out of them for your company, they will in turn return the favor and create raving fans for your customers. And
I love it. Can you give me a better example of that?
so, I always like to point to these two. Is there a difference between these two fast food restaurants?
I love Chick-fil-A.
Right. Everyone does. So, you walk into any typical Chick-fil-A and there's just a positive buzz going on. The people are smiling. They greet you when you come in. It's pretty fast paced. It's quick. And, when you say thank you, what do people at Chick-fil-A, what do they reply to you?
My pleasure.
My pleasure. And what's interesting is Truett Cathy, the creator of Chick-fil-A, the founder, didn't actually come up with that. He actually borrowed it from another company. You know what
No.
company that was?
No, who was it?
So the Ritz-Carlton, I think it was in the 80s sometimes, or late 80s, when he was at a Ritz-Carlton and he thanked the bellhop, and the bellhop said to him, "My pleasure." And Truett Cathy said, "We're going to take this back to fast food." So he actually borrowed that and said, "We're going to implement that." And now it's automatic response. Anytime you say thank you to a team member at Chick-fil-A, "My pleasure." And other
Wow.
companies, we're seeing other companies do it. Now contrast the Chick-fil-A experience, that of McDonald's. You walk in, the energy's low, they're typically not smiling. And recently they even put these big digital boards up and they're making you take your own orders. So they're really removing the human element out of the whole thing. So their focus is just not guest experience. I think it's maybe on low price. And I don't think, there's a big difference between cost when you go to Chick-fil-A versus McDonald's. McDonald's discounts their food, Chick-fil-A never does. And it's quite costly to go to Chick-fil-A, but people pay it.
So let's give our audience something to evaluate their current customer experience. Can you provide something to help them?
Yeah, you can scan this QR code now, and this QR code will lead you to a PDF, and it's a 20-point checklist that will evaluate your sales and service department on a few different factors. Are you creating memorable experiences? Are you different than other stores? What makes you different? These are the so let's make sure everyone can scan this.
Yeah, so you can scan that right there. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So what is possible when you truly delight the customer?
So what's possible is, um, we like to point to Ali Rida, who's the number one car salesman in the world. He sells over
Yeah.
100 cars a month. That just to put that in perspective, the average salesperson in the United States sells 10 cars a month. So he's selling 10x what the normal salesperson does. His record is 1,582. But Ali Rida is the type. First of all, he does relationship selling. So when you come and visit with Ali, his whole goal is to delight you with a memorable experience. One of the questions I asked him during the interview was, do you ask for referrals? And he said, no, Chris, I don't have to ask for referrals. He goes, when you create memorable experiences for people, he goes, they're going to send you everyone they know. So that's some of the other things that he does is he contacts customers on a regular basis, stays in touch with them, sends thank you cards. Most people don't do this today, and if you
Yeah.
do it, it completely sets you apart. He remembers your families, follows up months later, and treats customers like family. So he's very focused on the community, and really he doesn't try to sell that person that walks on the lot of car. Peter, he wants to sell everyone that person knows, and the only way you accomplish that is by creating a relationship with the person and providing a delightful experience.
And you hit the nail on the head. And what he did, it's funny because you mentioned thank you cards. A little repair shop where I got my car service sent me a little thank you card, handwritten. So I keep it on my desk because it's just one of those things that I thought was so unusual. Even the envelope was handwritten.
Wow.
And it's just those little extra steps that they take, is a perfect example. He does those things and look at the success. So he's doing a great job. But um, when you're delighting the customer, that's great. So we got the customer delighted. What happens next? What do you recommend that they do next now that you've got the customer and they're happy and they love you and they got a good relationship? What do you recommend for the next step?
So naturally, if you've done a good job with the customer experience, you want to capture that moment, either with a testimonial, either a video, photo, or written review. But you want to get a testimonial to use in your marketing to communicate trust and your sales process. So I'm going to now talk about the number one way to get a testimonial. So
Well,
the number one way to generate a testimonial, it's pretty simple, is to just ask. So, so ask and ye shall receive. I think that's a famous biblical verse. So, but it's how you ask is more important because, Peter, if you just sold me a car and then you ask, hey, can you give me a testimonial? In all likelihood, I'm going to go, no, I'm good. So, what we
yeah,
recommend instead is having a conversation about the experience. So, first and foremost, I want to ask, how long were you in the market to buy a car? What was your shopping process like? How many stores did you consider? And ultimately, why did you choose us? What ultimately led you to us? What did you like best about the experience? What I'm looking for is to uncover the why. Something perhaps I did that made me stand out. Maybe I shot a video and did a walk around of the car and sent it to you. Anything that sets me apart as a salesperson, that's what I'm looking for. And only then would I move to, hey, you know what? That's great. I love your story. Would you be willing to share it? And with a testimonial. Now, the one thing I didn't mention, Peter, is I didn't say video. I just want to say testimonial because there's different types of testimonials. Based on your reaction to that question is where I go next. So some people say, oh, well, what do you mean? What kind of testimonial? And then at which point you would explain, well, we have different types of testimonials. You can do any kind you want. We have a video testimonial where you can look into the camera, which, by the way, I don't recommend. I like the interview process. You've just asked them a series of questions. So you can say, hey, do you mind if we go through the questions again on camera and I just interview you? Most people feel comfortable with the interview process because you're not asking them to perform or remember anything. I think a lot of dealers make the mistake of saying, "Hey, would you be willing to do a testimonial, Peter? I need you to open up with your name, the name of the store, what you purchased, what you like best about it, and mention my name at some point. Go." And they stick the camera in your face, and that's intimidating. It's hard for the person to remember all those things. I will say the younger people do well with that, but those are the exception and not the norm. So I like the interview process. It's more natural. It presents better. We have an example. Well, let me go through the 4-step process and then I'll show you an example. But the 4-step process that we recommend on getting testimonials, first of all, warm them up, have a conversation. Typically, this is done right after they've said yes and you're waiting on finance. You've got that 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the store you're in, to kill. So that's a good time to have that conversation. So warm them up and then ask for the testimonial. Start with the video, back down to a photo, and then lastly, you can go to a written review. But if someone's not comfortable doing video, they're going to let you know, and you're not going to convince that person. Even if you did convince them, it wouldn't be a good testimonial. You don't want a person that's not comfortable in front of the camera doing a video. So if they're not comfortable with a video, you would simply say, hey, no problem, Peter. Would you be willing to give me a quote on what you like best about doing business with us? And then I take a picture of you in your new vehicle. Would you be willing to do that? Great. And then if someone's saying, no, I've got a bad hair day, I'm not willing to do that. I don't want to do a photo. No problem. Would you be willing to do a written review? And I can send you a link right now. Make it easy for them. So again, the point is, if you've done a good job with the customer experience, you want to capture it with a testimonial. And then of course you want to thank them. And then you want to share that testimonial with the customer. That's the whole key. A lot of people will share that on social media, and guess who you reach when they share it on their social media channels, Peter?
All their friends
and family in the area, and that's ultimately what you want. And that ultimately,
what a great referral.
Yeah. So that's how you get referrals from social media. Is if you do a great job, capture a testimonial, share it with the customer, and then they can, their friends and family are going to see you. You're basically, they're marketing for you at that point.
Exactly.
So we're not going to show this here, but there's a link. We'll provide this link later on the replay. But this link goes to a page, and it shows a good example of how to shoot a testimonial. We go into lighting, we go into microphones. We make it. You want to keep it simple if you want your sales teams to execute this. But shooting a good video testimonial, lighting's important and audio is super important. Oftentimes we see reps shooting audio outside. They're 15 feet away with the camera. They're talking to the customer. You can hear the salesperson, but you can't hear anything the customer's saying. So it's super important. And these microphone systems are super cheap today. They're noise canceling. You won't hear any background noise. So we go into all that on that page. We'll send that out after the replay. Okay. So the next step in the process, Peter, is marketing, right? So you've done a good job with the customer experience. You've done a good job capturing it. Now, what do you do with the testimonials, right? So we recommend deploying them. First and foremost, we just talked about this on the customer social media channels. Getting that to them sometimes can be tricky, but there's specific ways that you can get those links to them for them to copy. You can text them the link out, but you've got to upload it somewhere first. Your website, you definitely want testimonials on your website. The more valid,
many as you can get.
Yeah, the more testimonials and reviews that you show off on your website is the more validation and trust that you communicate on your website.
Yeah.
That in turn increases your conversions, and you'll have more people walking into your showroom.
And I noticed on the video you showed us on the other screen, that was on YouTube. And I see, and I know you're probably going to talk about that later, but YouTube is a great place to host the videos because YouTube makes it very easy to share it. But also YouTube is the second largest search engine. So it also helps get additional traffic for your website because it is a big search engine.
Yes, exactly. And we talk about that in our advanced best practices. You want to share these testimonials on your social feeds because the average person today spends over 2.5 hours on social media. And I think that's low, Peter. I mean, we're seeing that, especially with the younger generation, that number is way higher. But if people are spending time somewhere, especially on a social media platform, then it's a great place to market your testimonials to.
Exactly.
And then you mentioned YouTube. We also recommend retargeting ads for the dealership. YouTube. There's many, many different other ways that you can get your testimonials out in the marketplace in front of people that communicates trust that you're the dealer to do business with.
And I noticed you just put up on the screen, I just want to point that out. that you've got that best practices document you showed me before. So if somebody goes and emails you directly, you'll send them that best practices that goes into a lot more detail with some of these advanced strategies.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yep. Email that
great.
email right there, and we'll get it over to you.
Okay. So let's bring it home, Chris. What is the last step in this process?
Really, it's more of a result versus a step, because here's what happens when you deploy this. If you commit with your team to capturing even 15 to 20 testimonials monthly, in a year's time, you'll have over 200 customer testimonials in the marketplace promoting your business. This is like golden marketing. This is golden marketing. So what happens over time is you can reduce your ad spend because ultimately you've got your customers promoting your business, right?
Mhm.
They're out there. The voices of your happy customers are promoting you. You'll have increased retention because, of course, your team is focused on the customer experience. We often say that the testimonials and reviews are kind of a secondary benefit to the primary benefit. When your team's focused on getting testimonials, they're also focused on your customer experience. So
Okay.
more referrals, of course, that goes without saying. Increased CSI scores, and it really sets you apart from your competition. So it's really a win-win-win. I don't think there's any downside to when you're focusing on testimonials. You're going to see an increase in your customer experience, and as a result, you're going to see more revenue for the store.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's about moving from convincing to sharing. Like, most dealers, most companies, quite frankly, are in the convincing business. They're out there constantly promoting themselves with their voice. And when you move to your customers' voices and you're just sharing those voices, you're not in the convincing business anymore. You're in the sharing business.
I like that.
More trusted. Okay. So, we always like to say, stop thinking like a car dealer, start thinking like an experience creator. That's, you want to think about what experience that you're creating for your customers. And so, again, we recommend auditing your current customer experience with this checklist. Train your team on the DCMA methodology. Start capturing testimonials. Deploy strategically those testimonials across the different channels, and then measure and refine your approach. It's not who knows you, it's not who you know, it's who knows you and what they're saying about you. So that's the short-term challenge, and we recommend when you focus on this, it's going to be a win-win-win.
Okay.
Now let's open it up for questions. Do we have any questions?
Oh, somebody's asking Chris to go back over the four letters you mentioned, and just kind of walk through what those stand for again. Those letters.
The DCMA.
Yeah, that's what they're asking. What's that? Just kind of summarize that again one more time.
So DCMA stands for Delight, Capture, Market, Attract. So delight is focusing on your customer experience, with your teams, having regular meetings about the customer experience. We often say, don't expect people to give you a testimonial or a review for doing the expected. Jay Baer is one of my mentors in the CX field. He's a speaker and author. He's wrote a bunch of books on CX. And he says, don't expect people to talk about your business and have conversations about your business for doing the expected. You have to do the unexpected. Same thing with testimonials. If you want testimonials, create a memorable experience that's different than your competitors, that you do something above and beyond most car dealers. And
Okay.
when you design experiences around that, you're going to create memorable experiences.
Here's another question just came in from the chat. They're asking, you mentioned something about microphones. Where do you get these microphones and what do they typically cost?
So these things used to cost, hundreds of dollars. If a good microphone system used to be $300 or $400. Now you can get them for less than $100 on Amazon.
On Amazon. Okay.
Amazon. And you always want to look for the noise cancellation microphone system. We like the Hollandland.
Okay.
And these are very simple microphone systems that will plug into any kind of iPhone or Android. I like it because it's dual. There's one for the salesperson, there's one for the customer. and it has noise cancellation. And you can put these on. You can be out in a crowded showroom or outside with a road nearby. You're only going to hear the voices of the customer and the salesperson.
Now here's a question. Looks like it's coming in from a car dealer. He says, do I want to let other people put these videos on their YouTube channels, or should all these videos be on my dealership's YouTube channel?
I think both, right?
I think both. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. I would think that, I'm kind of a little different mindset with you. I think if I'm the dealer and I own the dealership, I want videos about my dealership on my YouTube channel. That way I can control them. Because what happens if that salesperson leaves it someday?
Right.
So, okay, great. Well, that looks like all the questions we've got for today. Chris, I think you should put back up the slide that's got your information. So if somebody wants to scan that again, they could do that. But I highly recommend everybody, if you like what you heard and you want the advanced practices, some of the information that Chris has on the advanced practices, it's worth reaching back out to him. You can probably reach out to him on LinkedIn or via email, and he'll send you that advanced practices document. And with that being said, we've done a very good job of keeping this presentation under 30 minutes, just barely. But we thank everybody for your time. Chris, anything you want to say before we leave?
No, I mean, I just highly recommend, creating a strategy that, first and foremost focuses on the customer experience, because you can't get testimonials if your teams are not delivering on your customer experience. So a focus on that makes it easy to get testimonials. And then I always tell new reps who are just new at getting testimonials, listen, no one is comfortable and good at it at first. The only way you get good, it's like going to the gym, is reps. The more you do, the better you get at it. The testimonial that you produce today is not going to be as good as the one that you produce 3 months from now. But get your teams used to doing it.
So true.
And they'll start producing great content. And the last thing I'll say is, user-generated content is the hottest thing going right now on social media, and testimonials is user-generated content. It's content shot with an iPhone or Android at your place of business. So it's trending, and you can tap into that and capitalize on it.
Well, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for sharing a little part of your day with us, and looking forward to helping you any way we can in the future.
Thank you very much.